Hello, everyone. This is Jeff Halper from the Israeli Committee Against House Demolitions and the One Democratic State campaign with my May update. And of course, there's only really, from the point of view of Israel-Palestine, there's only really one subject to discuss, and that is the process of normalization that's going on. We're coming back to it. Trump tomorrow is going to land in Saudi Arabia. He's going to meet with all the Gulf leaders in Saudi Arabia. He's going to go on to Qatar and to Abu Dhabi. Um, and this is really a momentous meeting. This is going to decide in many ways, and this is really going to be a challenge for us, the whole future of Israel-Palestine. I mean, nothing less than this. This is super dramatic. Now, what's interesting is none of us are paying attention to it. I just came back yesterday from a 2-week tour of Europe, talking about normalization, the dangers of normalization. I consider this normalization process the greatest danger to the Palestinians since the Nakba. No one's ever heard of it, really. Nobody's talking about it. I was in a huge rally. I mean, I've been in rallies in London, I've been in rallies in other cities in Europe. Normalization is never mentioned. Of course, it's a gray, dry academic term that's very hard to mobilize people around. There's no campaigns about normalization. I've been in contact with the BDS people, many of whom are very engaged in our One Democratic State project. There's no BDS campaign that has to do with normalization. It's an absolutely invisible subject, as if it's academic or it's simply, well, I'll tell you the truth. Our movements in support of Palestinian rights, and actually I'll include the Palestinian movements as well, are disconnected in a very strange way from the actual political events going on. You know, all our organizations, and there's hundreds of organizations, we all have our agendas, and we have the focus of our campaigns, and we have our activities, and we do our rallies, and our protests, and our encampments, and our informational work, and our BDS work, and everything, which is all important and great stuff to do, but in complete disregard for what's happening politically. Um, so, as I've said before, normalization is the way settler colonialism ends. Settler colonialism ends, if it's successful, by simply normalizing itself. It becomes an accepted fact of life. And not only is it accepted, but all the crimes that led up to it are buried. In other words, in our case, uh, the invasion of Palestine by the Zionist movement, the suppression of the Palestinian resistance movement in the 1930s by Britain and the Zionists together, the Nakba, the taking of Palestinian lands, the mass displacement of the Palestinian people, where half the Palestinians today are refugees outside of Palestine, genocide, ethnic cleansing, house demolitions, everything that we kind of is visible, and these are crimes that we've talked about and crimes that are ongoing. So we're really mobilized around, for example, the genocide in Gaza. All these are buried by normalization. Normalization begins with today, with the present reality. And the present reality is Israel um, on 78% of Palestine, but that controls the rest of Palestine. There's almost 800,000 settlers in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Gaza, we'll see. I mean, in Israel and America's imagination, Gaza is cleansed of Palestinians completely, who are sent to who knows where, Albania, Indonesia, and you know, and the country is Judaized. This is the name of the normalization process. It's a term we seldom use, Judaization. This is the purpose. This captures the essence of Zionism. The whole point of Zionism has been to Judaize Palestine, to transform an Arab country into a Jewish country. And it's been done, but the way you complete the process, the way it's really finished, is simply by normalizing it. And so, again, all the crimes are buried. You start from where you are, and that's exactly where we are today. And it's interesting, Trump has never read a book, probably never read a book, period. But he certainly never read a book on settler colonialism. And yet he's adopted the same language as the academics have, normalization. He calls this the normalization process to try to complete the Abraham Accords, where Saudi Arabia is the last major piece to fit in. And once you have normalization between an Israel with all its settlements intact, an Israel that really occupies and is seen as the country of historic Palestine. Historic Palestine is replaced by Israel. And then that entity is normalized with the Arab world, especially Saudi Arabia and Egypt. And that's accepted by the United States, of course. And that becomes then the de facto situation recognized by the rest of the world, whether actually or simply de facto. That's the end. The danger of normalization is that it's a closure. There's no negotiations in normalization. It's not a peace process. The Palestinians are not even a part of it. No one has ever consulted the Palestinian Authority on whether or not normalization is acceptable. What would the Palestinians need within this normalization process? And therefore, normalization also means apartheid. Apartheid is the only way out for a settler colonial state that cannot physically eliminate the native population. Israel has done genocide, cultural and physical, but there are still 7 million Palestinians remaining in the country that are going to remain. Israel has not been able to displace, expel all the Palestinians. It's expelled half of them, but half remain. And therefore, it's stuck with half the Palestinian people, with 7 million Palestinians. Now, it wants all the land. The entire country becomes Israel, right? But what do you do with those 7 million Palestinians that you can't give citizenship to? At least to the 5 million that live in the occupied territory. And so the only way out for Israel is a two-state solution. And the two-state solution is a trap for the Palestinians because it has to mean if Israel's settlement project is intact, it has to mean a Palestinian Bantustan, as they used to say in South Africa, mini-state, non-sovereign, non-viable, on about 15% of Palestine. In other words, small little islands on 15% of Palestine. And in fact, this is the Trump plan. I mean, Trump presented a map in 2020 that shows exactly that scenario. I'm trying to get it up here really quickly. I think I can share it. All right. Can I share it, Stephen, quickly? Here's the map that Trump presented. I mean, this isn't a conjecture on my part. This isn't just an academic, analysis. There's a map, and this map of Trump's normalization. I just did a tour of Germany, so some of it's in German. Shows exactly the intention of the normalization process. Israel is on 85% of Palestine. A Palestinian mini state, the Bantustan, is on 15%. Three islands in the West Bank, basically areas A and B, and whatever is left of Gaza. And that's it. In other words, the Palestinians are locked into this. They have no say about it. And what there's no territorial contiguity, there's no Palestinian sovereignty, there's no economic viability, and the refugees cannot return. But what Trump and Netanyahu are relying on is that people don't read the fine print. I mean, once they declare normalization, which most people think is a good thing. Wow, after all these years, Israel is finally making peace with the Arab world, right? Trump is dying to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Uh, and there's a two-state solution. The Palestinians finally have a state. In fact, France on June 7th, which is just in a couple of weeks, France and Saudi Arabia are convening a session of the United Nations on the issue of normalization, where France is going to declare its recognition of a Palestinian state. Well, what does that mean? That means it sounds great, doesn't it? Peace with the Arab world, a two-state solution, but it's apartheid. It's apartheid. And what everybody's relying on is people aren't going to look at the map. Who's going to look at the map? Are your neighbors going to look at the map? Once Trump declares a two-state solution has been found, there's now a Palestinian president who would probably be Abu Mazen, and peace with the Arab world. Are any of your neighbors going to say, wait a minute, is this Palestinian state really sovereign? Is it really, economically viable? Where are the borders of this state? How does it relate to? None of these questions are going to be asked. And so apartheid is going to go through on the basis of a positive, what most people see as a positive normalization process. And normalization, again, is a closure. There is no space after normalization, no political space left for Palestinians. Palestinians have been excluded. They'll be locked into this Bantustan, into this apartheid kind of a situation. And then after normalization, they're going to say, well, wait a minute. Okay, wait, this isn't over yet. What about our rights? What about the refugees? What about our real estate? What about self-determination? And the world's going to say, sorry, we've normalized. It's over. It's normalized. We're moving on. There's Ukraine, there's Sudan, there's a lot of other, crucial issues, urgent issues we have to deal with. The Palestinian issue is closed from our point of view. It's off the international agenda. All of this is happening today. Today. Tomorrow, Trump is in Saudi Arabia, wrapping these sorts of things up. And where are we? We're not even, it's not even on our radar. We have no campaigns about it. We have no discussion about it. Not only the Palestinians have not really raised this issue in any way. It's been raised here and there. There's been articles, and I've written a couple of them, that normalization is apartheid. Normalization is, but really not. It's invisible. And so I'm saying there's a really tragic disconnect between our political work and what's really happening on the ground. And I'm trying to launch, together with my comrades in the One Democratic State campaign, a campaign against normalizing Israeli oppression, Israeli apartheid. We'll see if this comes about. Even in our circles, people don't seem to have the energy or this doesn't seem to be an issue that people are really focusing on. And it's hard for me. Maybe it's too academic. Again, normalization is a very academic sounding term, but this is where it is. And all I can say is if we don't start exposing what this normalization process really is, if we don't start showing these maps, if we don't begin to invite academics, and it's not only me, academics that can come and talk about the importance of normalization for the successful end of Zionist settler colonialism. And if we don't start organizing against it to stop the normalization process, we could lose. This isn't a situation where, justice prevails and, settler colonialism has an end. And we're close to that end. Conflict can continue forever. And we look at this wrongly as a conflict. Conflict can go on forever. Settler colonialism doesn't. Settler colonialism ends at a particular point when it's normalized. So I guess my update for this month is really a warning. I'm trying to raise the alarm that this is happening. And I'm getting, to tell you the truth, from the months I've been doing this, very little feedback, or not feedback, very little response. We seem to be going on with our usual campaigns and our usual stuff, and normalization. We're not, again, I guess I'm speaking out of frustration to some degree. We're simply not plugged into the political process the way we have to be if we really want to be political actors. I'll leave it at that. This is my rant more than my update for May. And let's see what happens because this is unfolding before our eyes. And I ask the question, where are we? Where in the hell are we? Talk to you next month. Bye.